Have you ever wondered what causes a combustible dust explosion? It's a fascinating and complex phenomenon that can occur in a multitude of industrial settings. At its heart lies the Combustible Dust Pentagon, a concept that underpins our understanding of these powerful events. This pentagon represents the 5 essential elements required for a combustible dust explosion to take place. Fuel in the form of combustible dust, oxygen, the breath of fire, an ignition source to spark the explosion, dispersion of the dust in the air, and confinement, the final piece of the puzzle. Each of these elements plays a crucial role, and it's the combination of all 5 that leads to an explosion. Without even one of these elements, the explosion cannot occur. So let's take a journey into the world of combustible dust explosions and unravel the mystery of this intriguing pentagon. Stay tuned as we delve into the specifics of each element of this intriguing pentagon. The first point of our pentagon is combustible dust. Now, when we say combustible dust, what we're really talking about is the fuel for our explosion. It's the stuff that, when given the right conditions, can ignite and cause a potentially catastrophic event. But what exactly is this combustible dust? Well, it can be a multitude of materials. Many of us might immediately think of coal dust or sawdust, and you'd be right. Coal, being a fossil fuel, is inherently combustible, and when it's ground into a fine powder, it becomes even more so. The same goes for wood dust. When wood is cut, sanded, or otherwise processed, it creates dust that can also ignite under the right circumstances. But it's not just coal and wood. Grains too can become combustible dust. Yes, the same grains that are used to make your morning cereal or the bread for your sandwich. When these grains are processed, they produce dust that can ignite and cause an explosion. And let's not forget about metals. Certain metals, when finely ground, can become combustible. This might sound strange, but think about it this way. If you've ever seen a sparkler on the 4th of July, you've seen a metal, usually iron, magnesium or aluminum burn. So, as you can see, combustible dust can come from a variety of sources. And it's not always the usual suspects. It could be lurking in your woodworking shop, your local grain silo, or even your favourite cereal factory. It's a reminder that safety protocols and precautions are necessary in a wide range of industries and settings. This is why understanding combustible dust is so crucial. It's not just about knowing it exists, but also about recognising where it might be and how it can pose a risk. So, the fuel for this explosion is quite literally in the dust. Now, we're going to delve deeper into the second vertex of the pentagon, oxygen. It's an element that is not only indispensable to our existence, but also fuels the flames that light our world. Oxygen, a critical cornerstone of life, plays a paramount role in combustion, a phenomenon that enables us to drive cars, heat homes, and illuminate our surroundings. The essence of combustion lies in the science of chemistry. Simply put, combustion is fundamentally a chemical reaction known in scientific terms as oxidation. This reaction substance interacting and bonding with oxygen molecules. When this reaction happens at an accelerated pace, it leads to the creation of a combustion reaction, a process that liberates heat and light. The molecules of oxygen have an inherent readiness to bond with other substances, especially those that are highly combustible. A common example of such combustible substances is dust particles, which, when combined with oxygen, can lead to disastrous outcomes. Ironically, a scarcity of oxygen can function as a preventive measure against such dust explosions. When oxygen levels are insufficient, combustion is inhibited. In layman's terms, the fire is essentially suffocated. This is similar to the act of blowing out a candle, which extinguishes the flame by causing a sudden drop in the oxygen concentration around it. In conclusion, while oxygen is indispensable to life and numerous everyday activities, its role in combustion and, by extension, dust explosions, serves as a reminder of the vitality of managing and controlling its levels. It underlines the importance of being vigilant about the potential hazards associated. Next up is the ignition source, the spark that sets it all off. Picture this. An innocent-looking spark, just a tiny flicker of heat, but potent enough to ignite a combustible dust explosion. It's like a match dropped in a field of dry grass, setting off a domino effect of destruction. Ignition sources are not always as dramatic as a spark or a flame. they can be as mundane as a hot surface. Yes, even a surface that's heated enough can be the catalyst. Electrical equipment too can serve as a potential ignition source. An unexpected spark from a faulty wire or a sudden surge of electricity can easily ignite the combustible dust. It's crucial to be aware of these potential ignition sources and to take necessary precautions. After all, these are the triggers that can turn a harmless dust cloud into a devastating explosion. Remember, it only takes a spark to get a fire going. The fourth point on our pentagon is dispersion. Imagine a handful of flour. When it's compact in your hand, it's harmless. But when you toss it into the air, it becomes a potential fireball. This is the principle of dispersion, a crucial factor in combustible dust explosions. In order for a dust explosion to occur, the dust must be dispersed in the air. When dust particles are settled on surfaces, they pose minimal risk. However, when these particles are suspended in the air, they become a volatile cloud ready to ignite at the first sign of a spark. This dispersion is not a rare occurrence in many industries. In fact, it's a common byproduct of regular operations. Activities such as grinding, cutting, drilling, and even simple cleaning can cause dust particles to become airborne. This floating dust can then mix with the surrounding air, creating an explosive dust-air mixture. The more dust in the air, the more potential fuel there is for an explosion. It's also important to note that the size of the dust particles plays a significant role in the risk of explosion. Smaller particles have a larger surface area relative to their volume, making them more reactive and easier to ignite. Moreover, the dust doesn't need to fill an entire room to be hazardous. Even a small dust cloud can cause a significant explosion, and once an initial explosion occurs, it can stir up more dust, leading to a chain reaction of additional explosions. This is why controlling dust and preventing its dispersion is a critical part of combustible dust safety. Industrial facilities must implement measures such as proper ventilation, dust collection systems, and regular cleaning to minimize the risk. So the next time you see a cloud of dust, remember this. It's not just an annoyance or a cleaning issue. It's a potential explosion waiting to happen. When dust is in the air, the risk of explosion is there. The final piece of our pentagon is confinement. Picture dust particles suspended in the air, mingling with oxygen, ready to ignite. But without confinement, the dust-air mixture would not result in an explosion. It needs to be contained within a defined space. This confinement could be within the walls of a room, the cavity of a piece of equipment, or even the length of a pipe. The particles, once ignited, push against the walls of their confinement, building up pressure. It's this pressure that leads to an explosion. Just think of it like a balloon. If you were to light a match under a balloon filled with oxygen and dust, it wouldn't just burn, it would explode. That's because the balloon acts as a confinement, holding the pressure until it becomes too much and bursts. Confinement is what takes a fire and turns it into an explosion. So, there you have it, the Combustible Dust Explosion Pentagon. This model encapsulates the 5 critical elements that interplay to create a combustible dust explosion. First, we have the fuel, which is the combustible dust itself. It's the substance that burns when ignited. Next, we have oxygen, the breath of fire, which supports the combustion. The third element is the ignition source, the spark that sets off the explosion. The fourth component is dispersion, where dust is spread in the air, creating a dust cloud. Lastly, we have the confinement, which traps the dust and allows pressure to build up. Understanding these elements is paramount for safety in industries where combustible dust is a risk. It's essential to know the factors that can lead to an explosion in order to implement preventive measures. By doing so, we can significantly reduce the risk of a devastating explosion. Remember, knowledge is the key to prevention. Stay safe and stay informed. If you're in an industry where combustible dust poses a risk and require a dust hazard analysis at your plant, Dash Consult is here to help. With extensive experience and expertise, we provide comprehensive dust hazard analysis services. Our team of professionals is committed to helping you understand and mitigate the risks associated with combustible dust. To find out more about our services, please click on the link in the description below. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, Dash Consult is just a click away. Prevention is always better than cure, and with Dash Consult, you're taking a significant step towards a safer work environment.